Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Right Path podcast, where being an author, an actual author, still matters. This is the place that is for authors. It's about authors. It's done by an author. This is where we come together to share our journeys. We explore our creativity, but most importantly, we get to the why behind it all. Okay. Folks, our guest today is a remarkable lady. I've had the blessing of speaking with her on one of my other podcasts already. She's just absolutely a delight to have on. And I can't wait for you to meet her and hear about her journey and her story and her book. Folks, please welcome to the show. She is a music educator, and she's the author of Gratitude Attack: Gaining Gratitude Momentum while waiting for redemption. Please welcome Wendy Bower. Wendy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's so good to be here.
Thanks for coming back on with me. I want to say that again because I kind of butchered the title of your book because I forgot how to speak. So let me do that again. The
That's part
author
of
of
being an author.
that's
That's part of being an author. People butcher your title.
that's well, I'm glad I'm not alone here. All right. Gratitude attack. Gaining gratitude momentum while waiting for redemption. Did I get it that
Yes.
time? Wonderful. Okay, beautiful. Wendy, tell everybody a little bit about who is Wendy and what led you to be wanting to, write a book like this and kind of put you here today.
You know, it was so from God because from the time there was one Christmas, I think I was like in first grade, maybe, I don't know, but there were these books, Ramona the Pest, when I was a little kid, and I loved when I'd go to the library reading Ramona the Pest. And and I remember thinking, I want to write a book someday. And that was way back. And then I actually won some contests in school, growing up. And then when I became an adult, it was just like, well, what would I write about?
Hmm.
And and so it was quite a long time until I finally, and it wasn't even that. So I went to a conference last year, starting 2025, called The Next Level.
Okay.
And it was talking about in your journey with God, He always wants us progressing. He always wants us growing and, utilizing our gifts. Um, and so going to that conference, I had no clue. I just wanted to hear from God. I had no clue what He was going to direct me. Wasn't thinking about a book at that point. And and it was during that conference that somebody shared, one of the speakers shared something about the Lord leading. He's a financial guy, but, and he never thought he'd write a book, but, works in all kinds of ways.
Right.
And it sort of sparked that in me. Like, I've always wanted to write a book. And then it was like this moment in one of the sessions where I just felt like God saying, I want you to write a book. And I was like, okay, what? I had been in I've been journaling since I was 30,
Hmm.
daily. And I also, during 2020, when COVID hit, I got more active on social media because I sensed that God was saying people need hope and they need to be reminded that I'm good and that I love them.
Wow.
And so I've been into nature photography. And so I just started doing these little blips, posting some picture of a flower, and I still do this. I still do this. I just posted one this morning, one I had never, ever seen before. Um, so anyway, I started posting like that. And then I had people back then saying, I check social media just to see it's like a little devotion of the day because you're talking about something good about God, something hopeful, and so I was thinking, okay, I'll write a devotional with my photography in it. And then my hopes were dashed because I found out that to print photos in a
Mm.
book is super expensive.
Right.
And
Yeah.
anyway, and then I went to a writers conference, and it was just like all this, like that idea to write a book just, and then so anyway, so then fast forward to 2025, and I'm sitting there and God's saying write a book, and I'm like, well, I don't know. The only thing I ever was thinking I was going to write was these devotionals, and then I it wasn't an audible voice, but it was
Mhm.
like gratitude attack. And what had been happening within that last 2024 is I was experiencing being overcome by gratitude. And and I started calling them gratitude attacks, and I would post on social media. The first one I did, I didn't think I would have another one, and I wrote about it in the book. And then I had another one and I posted it. And so anyway, I had some of the book already written because in Gratitude Attack, I share one of those that I posted for each chapter. So here I was already writing a book, had no clue, had no clue. And so I get that idea, and then I just started writing.
I love that. I love that. That was it. I just started writing. You
It
know what?
was,
That's so awesome. Go ahead.
I mean, God gave me the direction. So I'm like, okay. I had no clue. Here's the thing. I'm going to a writers conference tomorrow where I'm going to map out my next book. There was no like mapping it out, any of these kinds of things. I just didn't have training like that. But I had been journaling for so many years, and so I just sat down and started writing. Well, where would the logical beginning be? Talking about my first, or what is a gratitude attack, and it just kept evolving. And all I did, because I do teach full time, is tried to create windows. Like my goal was to write maybe on the book 3 days a week, but I was still journaling for the most part because that's my way of connecting with God. And sometimes in my journaling, that would lead to, oh, this is what I'm gonna write, when I go to work on my book today. But I have to tell you, it was such a sweet time of fellowship with God, most of it. At times, I felt so loved by him that I just wanted to cry, like the best tears. Like I felt like he was right there with me and he was pleased with me, and we were sharing this experience of writing a book. And so I remember so I started writing, and then every writer that I have talked to gets to a place where, uh-oh, like I wrote a couple chapters and it's like, I have nothing more to say. You know, you can relate, right?
100%.
Like I just can't even imagine. Like maybe I'll finish this book in a couple years or something because I've given it my all. Well, then the cool thing would happen is then I know people have different ways they go about it. For some people, they say they keep showing up. For me, I felt like take a break. Go out instead of writing in those windows, go take a walk in nature. Just enjoy me, just enjoy the fact that you are writing a book. You don't have to strive. And the book is about not striving to be grateful. And so if I was going to be in a striving mode writing it, I think that might have come through. But I have had a number of people say that it was just refreshing reading it. And that's how I felt when I was writing it for the most part.
Nice.
So the cool thing was, so the first time I did that, and then I just surrendered and I was like, well, I didn't know the time frame when I was going to get this done. And I was like, okay, God, well, I've started this book. Whenever you want me to finish it. And then it'd be like a week later, I'm journaling just in my time with him. And it would be like, oh my gosh, I could explore this more in the book. And so then I'd go back and it'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm writing again, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so then when it happened again, the second time when I'm like, okay, wrote another chapter, got none left, it would be like, all right, what happened before is instead of pushing myself, I just got some refreshment and got a different way I was connecting with God. And then I would come back to it. And there you go. And then what was so cool is when I finished it, I was like, okay, I can't ever imagine writing another book.
No.
Well, guess what? I'm 6 chapters into the next one. And, and yeah, and I found a manuscript that I had pitched to a publisher. It's actually a children's illustrated book that was already written. That now, so that's already written. That's in the works now. I'm 6 chapters into my next book, so it's like, okay, I think I see something happening here that's going to continue.
Wow. I love that you open that up that way. I just, it's killing me.
But
It's just the process, and kind of how it happens for you. It is so funny. You sum that up so well. So many of us, we're bursting with what we want to write. We have this just feeling of, I really want to get this out. I got to get it on the page. And we feel like we have a novel inside of us. And then when we put it all down the page, it's like, wow, that's it.
2 chapters.
It's 2 chapters and I'm out. And you have to kind of go, all right, but it's out. More to come. I had to
Yes,
had to get that burst out. Let's just enjoy what we just did. Let's, be have some gratitude about it, right?
exactly.
And it's going to come again, but you have to. I think that's where the panic sets in for a lot of people because they're like, "Oh, is that all I had?" When you can give that gratitude for it and believe, that it's going to come again, then you can relax a little bit, right? And kind of wait for the reload and
Yes.
more mission to hit you, and then you can put it down again. You wrote when the passion hit you. Is that how you did like sort of most of the book, or were those the key points of the book?
Well, I didn't start writing it when the passion hit me. It was more just when God directed me, and I thought, okay, I'll get
Sure.
started. So that I wasn't well, what I did is I reviewed some of my gratitude attacks that I had already written or posted on social media. Um, and then just thought, okay, how would I start this book? But as soon as, I guess you would call it, yeah, as soon as I got the next idea, so I guess,
Hmm.
how did you say it? When the inspiration hits or something?
Yeah, sure. You just get
Yeah,
that next download and you sort of the next reload and you go, all right, I have more now. Now, where's my paper? I got to get it put out
yeah,
and put down now.
yeah. But I know it's very different for some other authors. And even I work with a hybrid publisher,
Hmm.
and they have a way that they coach new writers. Apparently, I didn't need the coaching. Sometimes I wish I had it so I could explain more. I'm more intuitive. I'm more intuitive.
Yeah.
And so the way they teach, new writers, that because they don't want to just publish any manuscript, which some publishers do, they'll just take your money. Some hybrid publishers or whatever, they'll
Sure.
just take your money. But my publisher has high standards. And so, anyway, but the way they go about teaching it would be to keep showing up.
Hmm.
And that works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I find this with music as well as with what I do as an author. I get to know my student. I teach piano, and I also teach songwriting. And I get to know my student and what makes them tick. And some are more, they need more structure. Some
Yeah.
need more just that freedom, the
Okay.
freedom. And I think it's good to know which kind of writer you are
Hmm.
and go with that,
Yeah.
because the showing up every day really works for some people.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up. I interview authors every day, and so I hear a lot of folks who are like, "Nope, from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm sitting at my desk, and if I have nothing coming to me, then I doodle or whatever it is until it
Hmm.
comes. But I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write, and I'm gonna get my 1,000 words or my 2,000 words or whatever it is
Yeah.
written, right? And then they go back and after it's written, they'll go, "All right, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna keep this though."
I'm gonna chuck
Somewhere
it.
in that, right, somewhere in that 2,000 words or 800 that are awesome,
Yeah.
but I had to do the other 1,200 words to be able to throw them away, to be able to like skin that off and get the good stuff. So, and I know a couple of writers who come on and they're like, no, I hold my phone, and when something hits me, I either speak it or I get on the notepad and take it, and I might be sitting on my phone for 20 minutes tapping stuff out because it just hit me.
Yeah.
Or I'm in the grocery store. I run out to my car and I'm like, okay, this happened, and then this character does this, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they go home and then they sit down, right, from 6
Yeah.
to 7 a.m. and take it off the phone. But everybody has such a different method, like you said. So I think
Hmm.
that's wonderful. You're obviously an intuitive, like when it hits you, you sit down and do it. And clearly it
Yeah.
worked because the book's out, it's great, and you're successful working on the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love how creative God is,
Mhm.
and I'm really careful being a teacher myself to not give any kind of cookie cutter approach, but there is an approach that you were created to take. And so I wouldn't say what I do is like haphazard. It's very mindful that, okay, I'm right now purposely getting refreshment so my cup is full and I can come back to my writing.
Got it. You were a music educator for a while, right?
Oh, I've been teaching, I was in the corporate world after college, and then yeah, I've had all kinds of things, and then I went more into the arts, and but for the last decade, I didn't want as stressful a job. And I really like being in business for myself, and I
Mhm.
decide what students I'm going to work with. And um, yeah, so, but I've competed in songwriting competitions nationally,
Wow.
and my songwriting, it's a lot the same way as writing a book in that it's intuitive. So I would go to the Gospel Music Association. They would have these conferences for um, unpublished songwriters and artists, and I would sit in those sessions, and it would be the same kind of thing. It would be like there are different approaches to writing. Not everybody's wired the same.
Nice. All this time that you've spent in the arts with music in different capacities. That's incredibly creative. That's got to be
Yeah.
tapping that creative part of you, on a regular
Yeah.
basis. How has that helped when you take all that creative and all those juices and you kind of pour them into the writing as opposed to music? Is it the same? Is it a little different? How's that work?
It's similar. I will say there's things I like about both, and things like what I like most about writing songs is all the rhymes. And, it's not because I write lyrics too, and it's not, I've been told what's interesting. Okay, so I like the rhyme aspect of the lyrics, and it's so fun. I play piano, and so it's just fun with music. I love music,
Yeah.
but and it's so interesting because I took one of those tests. They say not there are people that say everyone is intelligence. There's just different kinds of intelligence, and I took a test, and I thought music was going to be my top, but it was actually linguistic.
Hmm.
It's the words and then the music. And I always did well with my lyrics when I competed as well as my music. But anyway, when I'm writing music, I like that part of the lyrics, that challenge with the rhyme, and that it doesn't always need to be exact, an exact rhyme, a hard or a soft rhyme. Soft rhymes aren't exact. But when it comes to writing a book, I don't have to like be so few with my words. You have all this you want to say in a song, and you gotta, bring it down. And yet that ability to edit and cut things down is is so important in both. And so I still love doing both, but never got around to getting any music published. But, I've got a lot more years to live, and that may happen. My illustrated children's book that's coming out in this December, it's all around Christmas. I actually wrote it. This is going to sound crazy. And I'm like, why did it happen this way? I wrote it as a musical first.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Now,
there's the
that's
connection for you.
super hard to get published or anything. Like, you have to get it performed on. I didn't know. I
Wow.
was just having fun. I'm writing this musical, and because I did some work for a time in musical theater. But anyway, but I mean, we'll see if that ever gets published as a musical. But I've shrunk it down to a children's illustrated children's book for now. And
I
they
love
asked
that.
me, my publisher asked me, why did you shrink it down? Or why did you pick an illustrated children's book? You could have, I don't know, done different things with this. And I said, because I was picturing it on stage the whole time I was writing it, and the colors and the scenes and so it just made sense to me. I wanted to have like the scenes, like
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful. All right. I mean, I love this. Is it a faith-based children's book by any chance?
yeah, it's so fun. It's called The Colorful Christmas Kerfuffle. And it's, yes,
All right.
it's Santa and the elves, but it's the prodigal son's story.
Wow.
And I won't give away what happens, but there's a lot of colors in it, Rory, because colors are a big part of how, I enjoy life. And the main character, Natalie, she's an elf that is tired of wearing just red and green. She wants a much more colorful wardrobe.
Wow. Okay.
And it ends up Santa's heart is broken by
Hmm.
things that happen, but he decides because Jesus came at Christmas and gave the gift of forgiveness to him that he can pass that on to the elves.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I'm already looking forward to seeing this. So
Okay. All right.
you
Don't
have
want
to
to
let
give
me
the whole,
know.
I guess I gave the whole story away now. Uh-oh.
No,
Somebody
no,
else
no,
can
no,
write
no.
it. No.
No. Stop.
No.
Stop.
I don't
It,
worry about that.
it won't matter. That's right. God's
Yeah.
in control anyway. So don't worry about
Yeah.
that. No, you have to let me know when that comes out though.
I
Do you have
will.
an idea of when it's coming
Oh
out or just
yeah.
before
Oh,
Christmas?
believe me, we are on because it's Christmas themed. So really, like it's gonna have a
Hmm.
window every year, October,
Yeah.
November, December, and then, and I already have the sequel written, but I don't want to release them both at the same Christmas.
Right.
But
Yeah, for sure.
October, but yeah, I'll make sure to let you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, first I want to have you back on here to talk about it,
Okay,
when it
yes,
comes out, of
yes.
course. But no, I'm collecting kids books, especially
Oh,
faith-based
you
kid
are?
books for my grandkids because I have grandkids coming now. So we're
Oh,
trying to
that's
get these all built up for
exciting.
them. So yeah, so any of my authors that come on
Yes,
here who have kids books, I'm immediately like, all right, we're buying those. We're putting them
that's
together.
wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
glad to know.
Yeah, for sure. I love what you're doing. Let's, gratitude, forgiveness. I mean, there's a lot of themes that kind of resonate through your books and
Yes.
your life. Let's go back to the book that's out now, The Gratitude Attack.
Yeah.
Um, Tell everybody a little bit about the book. Okay, just kind of
Mhm.
surface level. Don't give away the secret sauce or anything, but
Yeah.
so that if they're looking at it, they have an idea of what to expect. And where to find it, that kind of thing.
hmm It's basically, it was written out of very, very difficult season in my life where if you would look at me, you would think she doesn't have what other people have to be grateful for.
Mm,
And so it's my how I discovered trying to be grateful, striving to be grateful didn't work for me, and how just uh, resting in God's love and going deeper in that naturally started producing gratitude without striving. And so the book is really a lot about the love of God and getting a strong, deep connection with that. And so it explores that, but then there's gratitude right connected with it.
Wow. I love that description. That should be on the
Okay,
back of the book.
good, good, good.
That description should be on the back of the book. Okay.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Um, when we write our books, most of the time, we are writing them to someone, we're writing them for someone. Who did you write this book to or for?
Okay, so this is so interesting because my publisher all the time is like, know who your audience is. I gotta be honest. I was writing it for God. I He told me to write it, I wrote it. I guess I was more just thinking like if I was talking to a friend,
Yeah.
what is interesting is, what the marketing team said it was for women ages 30 to 65 or something. That's what my marketing team said. But the very interesting thing is, last week I was interviewed on a podcast by a young man, maybe late 30s, loved the book, loved the book, and wants to recommend it to, get this, people that have missing person situations, families, friends that are missing persons. And he
Wow.
runs a ministry where they try to find missing persons because the police force is very limited in what they could do. He wants to recommend my book to all these people. So that's not just women age 30 to 65,
Yeah, for sure.
but that's how God can work at times, that he knows in what I've written, people that maybe the marketing team wouldn't normally consider. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was such a shock when he was like, because he read the book. Not everybody that you do podcasts with has time to read your book, but he read it, and he's in his late 30s and he's a male. So
Right? Go
there you
figure. I
go.
mean,
But I do again. So because I'm intuitive, I want to go back to, I do again think that that's very wise advice. Who are you writing this to?
mhm.
And when they put it in that category just for women, I was like, well, someday I'd like to write something that men could appreciate too. And so in doing my book, Joy Awakened, which is to come after Gratitude Attack, Joy Awakened, I'm into 6 chapters of that. I think I do have men in mind in that, in parts of it that I think more could connect with them. But we'll see what the marketing people say
I love
once I
that.
finish it.
I love it. First, let me just applaud you because you answered the question the way I asked it. And you gave me the answer that I was actually asking you for, and that you wrote it for God.
Yeah,
Because yeah, every author comes out and goes, "Who's my target market? Well, who's my
right.
avatar? I have to know, who this appeals
Hmm.
to." But that's not always who's in here or in here. In our minds and our hearts for the folks who can't see me making these motions. I should know better. I'm a podcaster. I have to explain myself here. Um, but that's not always who we personally are writing to or
Hmm.
for or about. And so I really appreciate you being honest about that and just saying, I was called by God to do this. And I said, all right, God, here it is. And
Hmm.
that tells people a lot about where your heart is when you're writing it and where it comes from within you, which honestly just makes people want to read it even more, I'm sure.
Hmm.
So great answer.
Yeah, it's sort of like, if if my best friend, if I was going to write something describing my relationship with my best friend, and
Yeah.
and then my best friend would read it and be so blessed, like, oh, that's how you would explain it, you
Yeah.
know? That's how it was for
Yeah.
God. It was just like, this is fun, like describing how we connect.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. The now having written this book, you are a published author, and
Hmm.
you mentioned you work with a hybrid publisher.
Yeah.
Now there's I guess there's kind of three categories of publisher, and that it's traditional publisher, hybrid publisher, and self-publishing.
Hmm.
But even within all those categories, there's like 7,000 different offshoots.
I
So
know it's crazy.
it's
It's crazy.
a little nuts.
It's
For the
overwhelming.
authors out there who are in that process, how did you decide? How am I going to publish? Who am I going to use? And which of these different choices am I going to, take up?
Hmm. Well, that was another God thing because
I'm sensing a theme. This is awesome.
yeah, 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 you got that. Um, so it was January 2025 that I went to this next level conference, and where I was like, you're writing a book? What book? Gratitude Attack. Okay. But in October of 2024, this is so cool. So I do post a lot of nature photos of flowers, not just flowers. I do mountains and sunsets and all that, but on Facebook and Instagram. And there was this lady that private messaged me. Somehow she had friended me, and private messaged me and was like, I just love how you celebrate flowers and how you connect them with God. And she was like, I would love to meet you. And she basically scheduled a time. She lives like an hour and a half north of me in Arizona. And she said, I come down that way to where you live periodically, to do certain things. She planned a time. She took me out to dinner at Cheesecake Factory, and she was telling me about this hybrid publisher that she was getting coaching from, that she eventually wanted to write a book. But she was like, you really, the way you write, I know you should write a book. She gave me the card of the publisher. And when she told me what some of the costs are, I was like, oh, okay. I got in my car and I'm like, I'll never do that.
Right.
But I kept the card.
Good for you. Okay.
I kept the card. And I am somebody, I say I have a learning disability when it comes with technology. Okay. Like it's such a stretch for me. And I knew several people, they're like, oh, you can just, download this software and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like for me, that would be a nightmare. And long story short, because it was so clear that God said, you're going to write a book. And I was like, well, should I, try to do the technical stuff, God? Are you going to show me? But then he reminded me of that card I had. And I actually was so sure. I got a free consultation with them. I was so sure I wanted to work with them. I didn't have all the money to do it when I started. And they won't publish it until it's all paid.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But I got like a huge tax return. It was like hallelujah. And then, right? And then um I got like a couple more customers. I don't advertise for my piano and songwriting teaching. It's just word of mouth. I got a couple more customers that totally made what the payment was going to be. And so the whole thing God provided the money for.
Wow. I mean, wow.
Now, that's not the case with the children's book, okay? Like, he's not going to work that way every time. I was sort of hoping it would be that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stretching me more, but
I gotcha. Oh my gosh. That's just all right. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate the truthfulness in the story. Um,
Mhm.
you know, everybody has to go through a lot of these things. We've talked about some really cool things today in terms of the process for writing, how you choose your publisher, the whole nine yards. As you look at this next book, is there anything about how you did the first book that you're changing for the next book, or are you going to basically maintain pretty much all of those things that you put into place, your method, your style, that sort of thing, the process, and still do it for the next book, or is there something that's sort of being upgraded or changed or cut out? What's the growth process like between the two books?
Oh, once you do one, then I did shop around and look at some other hybrid publishers,
Mhm.
and I there's just so much I appreciate about my publisher, um, that I've decided I'm going to stay with them. But I did shop around, and I've looked at um, how to approach, even just what you learn when you have a contract. And I mean, I had been in the corporate world in my after college for like a decade, and so contracts aren't intimidating to me, but there were things in the contract like when I encountered, because there's things even when you work with the hybrid publisher, it's like you're passing the ball back and forth. They're doing something, then it's your part, you pass it back. And when we got to something that was going to require some more technical expertise of me that I didn't have, and someone just let's just say I don't think they were having the best day. And
Mhm.
they're like, well, everybody understands that. Like, it felt like very like, oh.
Yeah.
Um, and then after I, got over the humiliation, came back and was like, I'm paying for this and I'm paying for help. And long story short, they got me somebody on staff that could spend a little extra time with me to do what needed to be done. And then so when I recontracted, when not re, when I did my next contract for the children's book, I made sure there was a section in the contract that would include that. And as in
Hmm.
any contract, I think it's really important to read everything and try to understand what you're actually getting for your money. And like, so because I have a sequel now for the children's book, I want to work with the same illustrator for the sequel,
Hmm.
and I'm expecting that will save money because the main characters are already developed. We're going to have some things already made. It's the same for my Joy Awakened book that's coming after Gratitude Attack. The same person's going to design the cover. So for that reason, I like staying because their level of excellence in certain things was just so good that I want that. And I don't want to try to cut corners and save a few pennies and not get as good of a final product.
Love that. Great way to look at it. I mean, a nice overview sort of way of looking at the entire process. So I'm sure that people will be able to learn from that as well. I appreciate you sharing all this stuff and kind of like diving deep into the process like this. As we kind of, wrap this down and land the plane, like you and I were talking about earlier, which I'm telling you, I'm stealing that from you. Um, let everybody know how they can find out more about you, especially on social media and that type of thing. It sounds like you're pretty active there, and where to find the book and so on.
Yes. Well, the best place is my website. It's authorwendybower.com. And on there, it has links to where you can buy my book. I am on social media. I have a weekly presence because I have so many books I'm working on. I'm not on social media necessarily every day anymore. I used to be,
Uh-huh.
but I have a weekly presence for sure on Facebook. It's just Wendy Bower, Bower. in Arizona. And Instagram, same thing. There's a lot of Wendy Bower, but Arizona helps.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Wendy, I appreciate you so much. And I just want to ask you the question I usually like to ask and I'm kind of excited about asking this question, to be honest.
Okay.
There's so many people who listen to our podcast that are authors, but are also aspiring authors. And they're listening to you right now. They're inspired by what they're hearing. They're hoping that they can get to this level one day. What's the best piece of advice you can give to authors who are not quite where you are yet?
Don't cut corners. Don't rush to just get a book out there out of your excitement. Um, I have several friends that did that. They thought they didn't need an editor. They thought, I can design a book cover that's great. And what I like about working with my publisher is they do examples where they'll show you book covers and they'll say, let's take I don't know, what's the one of the big name publishing houses that,
I like
one of their
Penguin or
like,
something. Yeah.
yeah, let's take a Penguin book. Now put yours next to it. Is it going to be obvious? Oh, that's not a Penguin book.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
what I love about Gratitude Attack and who I'm working with, first of all, they won't just publish a manuscript. Beware, there's a lot of people that just want to take your money, even under a Christian name. So you can't be naive when you do your research, when you decide. If you're going to do it on your own and just, you know, put it on Amazon or whatever, use their thing. Make sure you really understand what goes into, like, if you really want the book to uh, sell, and I'm not saying we write to sell, none of us are doing this to get rich, but,
Of course.
but if you want the message to get out. Like, so make sure you understand some of that. My publisher provides that for me. They provide all this, that's why I'm podcasting now. My friends that I knew that, they threw it together with the a little package and they put it on Amazon. No one told them, you need to get out and you need to be podcasting. You need to, so, some people can just once they have their manuscript they're like okay, but just really make sure what quality level do you want. I love the high standard that my publisher has and that they will turn you away. Well, but they don't just turn you away. They'll say, hey, we have these coaching services here. It'll cost you something, but I have a friend whose book is about to come out in a couple months. And they, at first, when they read her manuscript, they were like, we see your writing gift. It needs some development. And that was very humbling for her. She was almost like, screw them. I'm just going to go do this myself. Seriously, that's what. And I told her, like, I appreciated her humility so much because she said at first she was ticked off and she's like, a lot of people have told me I'm a good writer, and who are they to tell me? And it's like, they're professionals.
That's who they are.
They're professionals. So, anyway, make sure you're in a humble place. Make sure what is that final standard you want with your name as an author on a book. And, even like book covers, there's so much that they can be dated. They can, oh, you don't want your book looking like it's back from the 70s, like,
Right.
you might have grown up in the 70s and so something from the 70s is in you. Well, if your book's about the 70s, maybe, but you know, so you know what I'm saying?
I too.
So there's
That's
just there's a lot about it. But if you are a Christian and you're sincerely wanting to be a good steward of the talents God has given you and this unique message that only you could write because of how fearfully and wonderfully He made you. and you pray and you ask him for direction. He sent that woman to me that, with that business card for my publisher. He, and at that point, I was just thinking I wasn't ever going to write a book. And he like stirred it back up, so if you are wanting to be a good steward, I had the most wonderful time with the Lord at the end of 2025 where I felt like he was saying, well done, you know, and I just cried tears of joy because it was like, man, I was really stretched doing that, God. You really stretched me, especially with the technology. And it's worth it to go about it that way and then get his well done. There's nothing better. It doesn't matter how many copies sell. If he's happy with me, man, I'm going to keep writing and, you know, that's what it's about.
Utterly wonderful advice. Just fantastic. I love it. Oh my goodness. All right. I need to create more podcasts so I can have you back on some other ones. I'm
Hey,
telling
yeah, well, you're a great host, and so,
you. Thank you.
invite me.
Thank you so much. All right. Folks, author of Gratitude, Attack, Wendy Bower. Wendy, thank you for being here today, for sharing everything that you did with everybody, and just for being you and putting out, your faith and your hope and everything into the world. I know someone's going to hear this and be better for it. So thank you for being here on the podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an honor.
Thank you. Folks, that's been another just absolutely wonderful episode of the Right Path podcast, where the truth still matters and words still have power. This is the place for authors who know that every page is a step forward, and it's a step forward towards finding the right path. Until next time.